What's going on, guys? This is Ryan with RK Outpost, and I saw this article floating around on the BBC yesterday, and I've been trying to find some time to sit down and go through it. And you can see from the headline right here, from Sonic the Hedgehog to Star Wars, are fans too entitled? The redesign of the big screen Sonic in response to a fan backlash shows how people power is now shaping pop culture. But what does that mean for creativity? Asked Stephen Kelly. And I think the very idea of really asking this question is a little silly. Because honestly, if you're in the business of making movies, who else are you making for but the fans? Unless you're making some Oscar bait movie that's literally just made for Hollywood elites to sit there and circle jerk to, I don't really know why else you would be making films if not for the fans. Unless you're trying to push some sort of agenda with culture, if that's what you're going for. I guess that makes sense. But let's get into this article and see what they think. In spring of 2019, director Jeff Fowler announced the titular character of his new film, the live-action adaptation of Sonic the Hedgehog, would be totally redesigned in the wake of fan backlash to its debut trailer. "Thank you for the support and the criticism," he tweeted. "The message is loud and clear. You aren't happy with the design. You want changes. It's going to happen." And it did. And good thing, because as we all know, Sonic is performing better than anyone could have expected in the box office. It's outperforming its projections. It's outperforming Birds of Prey, which should have been a much bigger movie than it, but was so poorly marketed and poorly received by a lot of people that it's not. Sonic, which whizzes into cinemas today, so this is written a couple days ago, no longer possesses a full set of human teeth, two little beady eyes, and in general no longer embodies the traits and silhouettes of a 10-year-old boy who's been cursed by an old witch. He's now cartoonish, bright, and alive. In the words of Fowler, this wouldn't have been possible without the fans. And they talk about how this isn't the first time that fans have shaped something. They talk about all the way back when Sir Arthur Conan Doyle killed off Sherlock Holmes, and the fan response was such that he brought him back to life. Things like that have happened throughout the course of history because fans are fans. Then we come down here. Yet the unprecedented decision to redesign Sonic the Hedgehog, to surrender so transparently to audience wishes, surrender to what the audience wants, represents something of a landmark moment in the modern relationship between artist and fan, the latter of whom, thanks to the connective power of the internet and a changing social media landscape, has never been so influential, so vocal, and some would argue so entitled. Should fans have this much a say in pop culture they consume? If so, what does it mean for art itself? So, and that's one of my issues too. The argument that this is some sort of high-tier art form. This is a movie about a character from a video game. Let's be honest with ourselves. The only reason this exists is to get people to go to make money. It is not some sort of statement, some artistic expression. That's not what this is supposed to be. And if you think that, then I don't know what to tell you. I think you're in the vast, vast minority of people that just want to go, be entertained, laugh, eat popcorn. But maybe that's just my perspective. I don't know quite how to feel about the audience being in on the creation of what's happening, says Jim Carrey. I believe in auteurs. I believe in creatives. I believe in having them do it. As far as something like a Sonic character, that's something people have a sense of ownership from their childhood. So of course they're going to get involved. We'll see if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Well, Jim Carrey, I can tell you the answer right now. It's clearly a good thing because people are loving Sonic. People are going to it in droves more than we ever expected they would. So clearly it's a good thing. They go on to talk about how geeks have inherited the earth in a little bit, and I agree that so many things that were not popular or not cool, even when I was in middle school and high school, things like Star Wars. I was carrying around Star Wars Expanded Universe books in middle school. Nobody else was doing that. And now Star Wars has become the cool and trendy thing, or at least it was until no one cared about it after the sequel trilogy. They talk about here, now fans weaponize hashtags to revive things they love, like The Expanse and Brooklyn Nine-Nine, or to take showrunners to task with the criticisms of their blind spots and choices. One notable example is the teen show The 100, which sparked ire in 2016 after killing off one of the show's prominent gay characters, an act that was seen by many to perpetuate the bury your gays trope that has been prevalent in TV and film. What the hell is this talking about? And as for fan fiction, there's a lot of fan fiction out there. Some really cool, some really trash, and some really creepy. That is for sure. Fans engaging actively with materials in their culture has improved our world in countless ways, says Jenkins. television as it exists today is largely a response to modes of engagement that fans have modeled over the past several decades. And she goes into detail there. But, I agree that at the bottom line, this entire article, and which is why I think it's silly, is the whole reason these things exist is for fans. If people didn't like it, they wouldn't watch it, and it wouldn't exist because there wouldn't be a market for it. If you want to make some artistic statement, that's fine, but no one is going to watch it. If you're not making it for people, you have to have an audience for people to consume it. And then they go on here to talk about when the fan backlash happens. But such a misguided approach to art also feels endemic of a time when a lot of mainstream storytelling had to be regarded as more of a product designed to service than consumer than a means of artistic expression. And that they talk about Martin Scorsese, what he said about the MCU. And he's got a point about the MCU, but there are fans that really enjoy the MCU. It does cater to a large group. They did it the right way, the way they built it up. I agree that a lot of it's becoming stale and repetitive, but people are still going to it. And I love a lot of Martin Scorsese films, but those films are not for everyone. That's one of those sacrifices you might have to make if you're making some sort of movie that's supposed to be some artistic expression. You might alienate a lot of people, and maybe not as many people are going to go see it. That kind of thinking, in turn, gives rise to the kind of behavior that has come to be known as fan entitlement. After all, when you buy a product, when you spend your hard-earned attention, dedication, and time, why should it not be exactly what you wanted? Well, I think that might be a little aggressive, but it's a sense of ownership that is the heart of two of the last decade's most notorious pop culture controversies. The last series, I believe you mean season, BBC. Maybe that's a language barrier across the pond thing, so I'll give them a break. Maybe they're not that stupid. Maybe they meant season, maybe series is what they mean over at BBC. I don't know. In 2017, Star Wars The Last Jedi. Both of which, in what is surely not a coincidence, were continuations of stories that did not involve their original creators and were instead overseen by professional writers who were fans whose authority to tell those stories could be questioned. The former was straightforward. The last series of Game of Thrones, and also agreed by many professional critics, was a disappointing end. Yes, we know that. And millions of people signed something to say remake Game of Thrones. Do I think there was any realistic possibility of that happening? No. But the fact that people were pissed about it is real because so many people could tell that it was not a good adaptation. It didn't make sense for that to happen. And it was poorly done. And we all know once they ran out of actual books, these guys, Danny and Dave, had no idea what they were doing. They were in over their heads. Let's be real. The Last Jedi, however, was a bit more complicated. Directed by Rian Johnson, the second in the latest Star Wars trilogy, the film that aspired to show a stylistically bold and thematically challenging filmmaking was still possible within the constraints of the franchise system. But the problem is, you can't do something like Rian Johnson. You can't have your take on Star Wars. You can't have your take in one episode of a 9-part saga, the vast majority of which was, controlled by one person, George Lucas. You can't then just have your take on Luke Skywalker, because Luke Skywalker has only been one person. You can't have your take. It's not like Batman, who's been through several iterations over the course of his decades and decades of existence. People aren't used to that. You can't do that, and that's what we saw happen. And then, of course, they talk about the fans that clogged the internet for months with vitriol and abuse. Of course, they have to mention the fake Kelly Marie Tran harassment, absolute garbage, just like the BBC. And so, in a craven capitulation to the worst impulses of modern fandom, J.J. Abrams followed Johnson's film with The Rise of Skywalker, a desperate and creatively bankrupt barrage of fan service, which will forever serve as a reminder, the difference between giving fans what they want versus giving them what they need. There it is, right there. Now listen, The Rise of Skywalker is just a shit movie. We all know that. They tried to please every single group of people, and I agree, pumping all the fan service they can at the sacrifice of the story. It has to be a balance. But there is where they let the mask slip. Giving fans what they want, vice giving them what they need. Because you know better. The Hollywood elites know better, right, BBC? That's what you're trying to say. I don't know what the Hollywood equivalent over in England is. I don't know what your style of Hollywood elite is over there, but I'm sure you think that they are right and know more than we do as well. And then they talked about how the female-led reboot of Ghostbusters, how fandom led into the culture war, all of this other stuff. I'm kind of done. They're talking about Doctor Who, how it's flopping, like all these things that people don't like. Fans don't like it. Fans don't want it, so they're not going to go see it. I don't really understand why saying that I don't like something or I'm not going to watch something if it's like this is fan entitlement. That's just making a choice of what you're going to watch. And I'm kind of done reading all this because it's long and this video is getting long. But I just think it's so asinine and so ridiculous for the BBC to come out and make all these comparisons, and so many people. We've been seeing a lot of this, and that's why so many people are rooting for this Sonic movie to fail. Or they're making excuses for Birds of Prey because they don't want people to listen to the fans. They don't want this fan entitlement. But if it's me and I'm running a production company, my goal would be to make money. And my goal would probably coincide with making the most fans happy and entertained and not pissing them off and not telling them, well, you don't know what you want. This is what you need. I'll give it to you. Because from what I've seen, that just doesn't work. Whether it's Star Wars, whether it's comics, whether it's any form of entertainment. But maybe that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, share this video out there, ring the bell for notifications, and I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching, everyone, and a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.